I'm going to talk to you about some work which provokes questions about what we're starting to think about in philosophy when humans are at the centre of everything. For centuries we've been talking about that, but in the last 10, 15 years we've been talking about what happens when objects begin to have agency and power. Now, why we want to do that as researchers and designers is what I'm about to unpack, but critically, really, if you want to give things power, a grubby way of doing that, a really simple way of offering people anything out in the street, is to give them money. It gives them power. It's a wicked truth of capitalism, but that's something that as a design team we wanted to talk about. What we're very interested in as a bunch of designers is that over the last 100 years we've seen a whole bunch of humans at the top of the design chain. Johnny Ive, Zaha Hadid, superstars, Thomas Heatherwick, still the centre of some design idea. As researchers in HCI, many of us realise that actually it's groups, participatory research, and we can come together to design things much better when you involve people. But I guarantee there's lots of people in the room, but there's more chairs than any of you. It suggests to me that the chairs know more about sitting than the humans in the room. And actually, in the context of the Internet of Things, why are we asking humans, only humans, about designing chairs? Because its chances are that things know far more about chairs, and particularly chairs know about chairs and sitting, than humans do. And as we do instrument all of these things with vast amounts of data, so underneath all of your chairs is a data, perhaps in the cloud, then why not ask them? Because it could be the case in the very near future that things will start designing things much better than humans. Because you all do what I do. You get up, you go to bed, you watch Netflix, you watch House of Cards, you watch Game of Thrones, you go to work, you do all the things, and we're doing it increasingly together in the same way. So let's start asking questions from other things of the world which might ask us how to do things radically differently. So I'm going to show you 3 case studies, design case studies, of things that we built or developed that unsettle the idea that human is the best person to have all the money to make all the decisions with. So the first thing is perhaps thinking about smart contracts. Smart contracts are coming. They're part of cryptocurrencies. They're part of bitcoins, ether, all of these digital currencies which are beginning to empower different systems and different things. This is PwC, which they suggest there's a huge continuum of what begins to happen when you do start introducing folk like you to different forms of currency. Currency that can remember. The money in your pocket doesn't remember where it's been. The money in your pocket doesn't know where it's going to go next. But as soon as you start programming with money, you can ask it to do different things. You can interrogate where it's been. If you're a vegetarian, you might say, I don't want to spend that money because it's just come from McDonald's. You might even be able to program the next piece of money and say, I don't want this money that I've earned to be spent in McDonald's. So PwC speculate there's a whole sudden turn as you begin to start programming around, and it leads all the way from smart contracting all the way potentially to distributed autonomous societies. Ideas that we no longer need governments to control what we do according to the power of certain monies. So the first example then is what happens when you give GPS coordinates wallets. Why? Well, so we went to Amsterdam and we had some fun by literally scattering around Bitcoin in the street. This is just a couple of years ago, so folks, it was cheap, it's peaked and it's crashed, so there's not much left. But what we do is simply code wallets. Now, you have a wallet in your pocket, but it's easy enough to think that you've also got an attachment to a bank account in the cloud. Well, all we do is associate a GPS coordinates with a bank wallet in the cloud, but this time it's got certain programming attributes. It's a smart currency. Now, you can't see very well on the slide, but you might see the black dots. The black dots are lumps of cash, actual lumps of Bitcoin. And if your GPS coordinates, if you run the app, match up with the GPS coordinates of the money, you take it. And there's a huge run around you run after that. However, you might just be able to see the red dots. The red dots are fines. And if you hang around those places, they will actually start taking money from you as though it might be a toll. On the other hand, there's the green dots which give out. And if you hang around, you begin to get paid out. Now, if 2 of you hang out, actually what you get is halved. But nevertheless, it keeps giving out. But there's a moment which in the little game, you have to decide whether 4 of you are in there. It's worth actually making a break for some of the black pots of cash. So we do this, and it's important we do this because it feels like body storming the implications of smart contracts, not brainstorming them. To work with this technology, blockchain, Ether, Bitcoin, it's very complicated. And many of you are now entirely transfixed from being very young with pocket money and money coming in one form. So asking you to body storm this, change the way you think, we think you can play with it. So this is me moving through a street. And what I'm doing, I'm playing out this little imaginary. There's me moving down the street. I've entered a blue, fine area you can't see, but I'm now losing money and I have to get out of that space extremely quickly. And already in that context, it started to change how I relate to the environment. Of course, we saw this through Pokemon. We began to see human behaviors change because some people found currency that they valued in strange mythical creatures. Makes this sound normal. On the other hand, this is me chasing for the large green dot. That's a bag of cash, and I'm going to go after it. At this point, we're starting to use Ether, which was far cheaper, test Ether, than Bitcoin. I'm changing my behavior. Now, actually, this isn't this radical. This is what's happening anyway. All of you are being drawn to different parts of the city based on different digital economies. So it's nothing particularly new. But nevertheless, these little things allow us, as I say, to body storm out what it's like in the near future to use smart contracts. What they also do when we've had a go with this, and what we do is take you into our space, we throw a bunch of cryptocurrencies in your street, and then we let you run around. Then we ask you to design the smart contracts for those streets. So this is an example. This is 3 people. You'll see 2 to begin with. And they've been through our little experiment. And what we've done now is ask them to design some smart contracts for a different behavior in their lifetime, in their lifestyles. Now, what the 3 have decided to do is write smart contracts for a cinema. Now, there will be no cinema on the screen. But what I want you to do is imagine what's going on in their heads. The team of what they're programmed in the street is that they're about to enter a cinema space and they're going to buy a ticket. The ticket's going to cost them 8 credits, whatever it is. And when they do that, they'll all spend that down. But what they'll do then, the 2 here are going to actually start entering that cinema and enter a different type of contract in which they'll start being refunded for watching trailers. I mean, we like trailers, but we're also just devices for marketing. On the other hand, this chap wants to skip the trailers entirely. So he's moving through the streets and he's going to skip the trailers. Now on the screen, again, it's very hard to see. He's going to take the ticket, which is the big blue one. I don't know if you can see the green blobs just on the right. He'll take that now. So he's taking the ticket, and the other team, meanwhile, are going to go and watch the trailers. Now, as they watch the trailers, their proposition is that the ticket price isn't just fixed, but actually they're part of a marketing network. So they should be paid back for tweeting, for commenting, or reporting on the quality of those movies. So this team then are already beginning to start think about what's in it for us. What's in it for you being part of capitalism? When are you working for other people, other systems, and when are you beginning to start being paid or redeemed for those processes? As I say, my wife looks at this and says, "Where's the cinema, Chris? Is it going to pop up?" There is no cinema. What we're trying to do with the work is imagine different economic frameworks. And to do that, we do it through body storming and playing out. So now they're about to enter the cinema. I repeat, there's no cinema. The audience still, where there's a cinema? No, there's no cinema. It's an imaginary. And they enter the cinema, and I think the female decides to leave the cinema, but she takes her a litter with her. And by doing so, she then gets redeemed. So although she paid 8 credits, she actually paid 6 credits after promoting the trailers, and then she ended up paying 5 after taking a litter with her. The other chap actually does a final blog post or tweets and reports on the movie, and he's redeemed, and he pays about 7 credits. So what they're doing is, again, different economic imaginaries are changing the stake we have in these digital economies. So we're beginning to see what questions we can ask if we give things, not people, wallets. Again, people had wallets, but also GPS coordinates. In this one, I'm going to show you 2 things, 2 products, systems. The first one is the Bit Barista, which we showed at KAI last year. It's a coffee machine. It's a hacked coffee machine. We've given it a Raspberry Pi, and we've given it a Bitcoin wallet. Now, why would you give it a Bitcoin wallet? Well, number one, the coffee machine cares about what the community want as coffee. So it cares about where these coffee beans have come from. It's got a very small well of coffee beans and a very small well of water. And it needs to begin to ask you to help it out. So once you pay for a coffee, let's have a go through this. It will also try and find out if it can buy coffee beans according to the values of the office that it's inhabiting. So here's Rory, who developed it. He's ordering his coffee. It knows it's online. It's going to look around the world and it's going to check its prices. Then it's going to ask a critical question. Would you like to buy the next set of coffee beans for the small coffee machine based on ethical values, social values, environmental values, or just great roast? And we'll park all the ethics. He makes his choice. He pays with his Bitcoin wallet, and the machine takes his money, and it's going to produce a very nice cup of coffee. What it does do at the end, though, it also reports back and tells him what the office has voted. And with the money in its wallet, the machine then goes and orders itself what the values are of the office. So the machine does the ordering, but it's based on entirely what the studio want. So in some ways, it's actually a voting device. It's trying to commensurate the values of the office with the ideas that it should be commensurate according to the value chain and the supply chain of coffee beans. Now, second one, again, we're starting to move from coffee machines into the bedroom now with hairdryers. This is GigBliss, and GigBliss is a range of 3 hairdryers. And this time, again, what we're trying to do is ask questions about what happens when you move the responsibility of buying energy from you humans onto perhaps the bots and perhaps onto the machines that develop the first. The first one is a mix between a human power and the power of a hairdryer. In this, the model is actually he's got a Bitcoin wallet, or he's got a trading and energy wallet on the actual device. And what he's doing is buying cheap energy at 4 in the morning, because he's a student, and he's selling it at 7 o'clock on a Friday night. And then if he accrues enough energy, he'll then spend out and blow his own hair. So he's beginning to do the very thing that the power stations do at 7 o'clock every night when the soap operas come, in terms of balancing energy. And we're incentivizing him to balance the energy so that actually he's using greener energy and he's buying it at a different time. Now, that was fun. We gave him some power. In the second GigBliss, what we begin to do is say that you are prepared to wait for the right type of energy. So in this instance, he wants to blow his hair, but what he's done, he's pressed a button, but the machine is going to wait. And it might wait 10 minutes, it might wait 5 minutes. It knows you're prepared to wait for eco-energy. So he can still blow his hair, but my hunch is, if I say, I'll get you a taxi outside, would you mind waiting 5 minutes for an eco car? You'll do it. Because you empower the proposition of values outweighs the idea of waiting 5 minutes to get the job done. Now, the last one, we're taking it all away. You don't deserve the decision to make decisions on power. Humans are crap with energy. You have buttons and you just think you can have what you want when you want. So in this one, we're not going to give you a button at all. What's going to happen is the device is just going to decide when it's best to turn on. And you're going to have to just realize that you're not going to get what you want when you want it. In the West, you are surrounded with buttons, and you get what you want when you turn a button on, and it's extremely rare. The rest of the world doesn't have what it wants when it presses the button. So here, the little robot thing, he's going to wait, and he doesn't know. Now, when does he wash his hair? He's got short hair. But once he's washed it, he's just going to have to wait. He's going to take on board the fact that the rest of the world, the human is not the best person to know when on earth to balance the energy. In the end, the lights will light up. This is the awkward moment. But this is what waiting is. And he'll get it. So everyone gets what they want in a shared distributed energy network. You just have to get used to it, that you're not the person to make the decision. So last one then. The question might be, if we give things wallets, they're starting to already, you can see, they're starting to disrupt what we do as human behavior. But actually, maybe some of the currencies that they trade isn't just economic. We've seen it move through energy. And the last one talks about social. What might a social currency be if we gave things wallets? In this example, what we've done is given 100 wallets at the Dutch Design Week last year. Wallets just to simply allow them to be associated with coffee, funnily enough. So what you'll see here is we've got a very exotic barista, and we've coded up 100 coffee cups with small NFC chips, just like your wallets, just like your iPhones and your Android Pay. But what's going to happen is they're only going to work, you can only add value to them when 2 people meet and begin to trade information. So I might have a coffee cup here, and it's got no credit. You see a red, you can't really see it, that's a red, that is. You'll see when it goes green. If I put another coffee cup nearby, actually I get a green credit onto the cup on the right and a green on the left, and now both coffee cups have got credit, which means I can go to the barista, I can see my credit added into the bank account, and I can go to the barista and cash out. Now what that means is actually that the currency is not coffee, the currency is social interaction. So these two people have never met, they're forced to incentivize, if they want coffee, to talk to each other, because 2 coffee cups fills both your coffee cups with credit. So we begin to ask questions of what value, what currency would things choose to have if we did give them power? What was fun in the space was that there was actually free coffee just in the next room. But actually all these people valued the whole question around hanging around people, breaking the awkward social problem of being on your own in a conference and wanting to be around that space. And these things then begin to develop a whole bunch of questions around what type of values do you want to have when you begin to talk about some of the challenges we have when energy is depleting and we talk about other things knowing our data. In this context, what we think is the currency is, yes, coffee, because you value coffee, but we also think social interaction is a critical part of that community of interactions. So, your question for the evening: what human values would things disrupt if we gave them spending power? We're not that good at managing big data. We're not that good at managing complex problems. That's why machine learning and AI is helping us identify patterns that humans can't see. But if we begin to give these things, these same algorithms, powers, the powers that you and I have to make ethical social decisions, does that change? Does it mean that you will get better at recycling? Because actually the artifacts won't let you throw them away. They want to stay in the world. They want to be part of the known universe. And they take that cognitive load off us. But what are the implications? Does it mean that you and I don't get buttons and we don't get what we want when we want it? We begin to start allowing bots to help us negotiate and perform the values that hold society together. I couldn't do it without the team, so there's always a credit shot. Thanks very much.